Hello and welcome to Talk to Malik Jones. Tonight we'll be looking at the West Africa Tax and Administration Forum, and who best to talk to me about that since the Gambia Revenue Authority will be hosting the WATAF conference here in Banjul. The right person to talk to me will be the Deputy Commissioner General of GRA, Alhaji Essa Jallow. Essa, welcome to Talk to Malik Jones.
Thank you, Malik. I'm happy to be here to talk about this important event we are hosting.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine to have you on the program. Essa, WATAF, West Africa Tax and Administration Forum. What sort of an organization is this?
Mr. Jones, this is a sub-regional tax body which was established way back, in 2011. It came out of the realization that, taxation is very important for the economies of the West African sub-region. And that being the case, the heads of tax administrations within the sub-region, Nigeria, of course, taking the lead in this particular, issue. And then, we were able to come up, with this organization called the West African Tax Administration Forum as a sub-regional body to look at issues of taxation in the countries that are part of ECOWAS.
Tax is very important within sub-region, especially, let me say, in Gambia. It is a very, very important. African countries don't have to go around begging, asking for donors here, looking for grants there. We have to raise money through taxation, and that tax is being used once again for our own development purposes. Essa, you have been Director of Domestic Tax here in the Gambia. Can you shed light on Gambian tax and how this money is utilized?
Thank you, Malik. Still trying to connect with the event that we are trying to host. All the countries within West Africa have a shared idea that one of the most important national institutions that have to be developed is the country's, tax administration. And the reason being, no country can develop in terms of providing public goods and services if you don't have the revenues to support that. Of course, revenues can come in other sources that are different from taxation, like the loans, the grants. But if you are talking about sustainable development, you must depend on your own domestic institutions that have the capability to mobilize as much revenues as possible to contribute towards the public finances that contribute towards the provision of the public goods and services like the roads, the provision of security, the provision of the other important infrastructures, schools, healthcare. Those are essential public investments that directly affect the welfare of the citizenry. And that being the case, governments must at all times be in a position to be able to spend in these critical sectors so that the quality of life can be enhanced, poverty can be reduced, and many things, including some international commitments like the Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. All of them are goals that are very important. They come to reduce poverty, provide clean drinking water, provide quality education. But the only way to do that is to have the money. And that is why the tax systems or the tax institutions have to be developed in a manner that is credible, in a manner that is responsive, with the right kind of, human capacity development to go around and then mobilize these revenues based on the, laws that are available to assist in collecting these revenues. So the Gambian tax system is not different from any other country. It is just there to make sure that that linkage, because if the Minister of Finance goes to the National Assembly to present the budget for any year for approval, it will come with two important components. We want to spend on this, but to spend on that, money has to be available. And that's where the tax system now has to come and complement that role of government in terms of making sure that the money is there and government is able to spend in a timely manner to address some of these critical challenges.
We shall come to the WATAF conference, which kicks off on Monday.
Yes.
The 16th is a 4-day event where the actual body will be meeting, the General Assembly will be meeting, the Council will be meeting. That will be at the Cocoa Ocean. But let's look at tax. You, GRA, you're always making sure that people pay their tax, not forcefully, but sometimes you entice them. For example, you have the tax awards. Good way of promoting people to pay their tax.
Those are important, tools
measures,
that we have to use. In taxation, one thing that is important is that the law is always there, and it prescribes everything in a manner that the tax, authority can go out and collect the revenue. But we have this important, slogan that we use, in the tax community, and that is using the carrot and the stick at the right time.
Good.
Those that you can encourage by giving the carrots, and that is providing, this outreach kind of, activities, educating people, sensitizing them, organizing awards. Those are all incentives that we can use to encourage people in a way that also comes with, awareness, that they know exactly why they have to pay tax. They know the laws that are there, which have made it mandatory for those who are in those kind of circumstances to pay tax. But after all these investments in terms of time and effort are done, equally we can turn around where we can now use the full force of the law, because every tax decision must be backed by the law. In other words, GRA officials cannot just go out and collect in any manner. There has to be law for every collection, and the law must prescribe the manner in which the collection has to be done. But one thing I want to say is that one of the most important civic duties or responsibilities of a citizen is to pay tax. When the law have made it compulsory for you to pay, because not everybody would pay. For example, you have to be in certain circumstances to pay. For example, you have to be in employment and get the income to pay. You have to be in business to pay. So all those circumstances are properly and clearly explained in the law, so that you know when you find yourself in the situation where you have to pay. But when you are in that situation, the best thing that everybody can do to demonstrate, your citizenship is to pay and contribute towards, the public finances, because that gives you a say. Because I would always say this, sometimes, it's very easy to sit down. Government has not fixed the road. Government has not provided the drugs in the, hospitals, or this, that, which of course, every citizen should expect. But government is just a structure. I always say this. They only can spend or invest based on what the residents or the citizens of a country have given them by way of finances. Even if they have to borrow, the mandate comes from the citizens. And that is why when these loans are contracted, what do you see? They go to the National Assembly. It's because people had a say. So all that, put together means that taxation is very important, and everybody must take it very seriously, and everybody must be a revenue authority of your own, so that the country can stand on its feet financially, to develop that financial independence, to be able to do as much as possible with domestic resources. That way, you can also shape your national policies in a manner that reduces the extent of external influence in the way those policies are developed, so that they are policies that are homegrown, policies that directly connect with the kind of realities that we are trying to deal with.
You are backed by law, and that also means that people who do not pay their taxes are not supposed to pay tax. The law empowers you to go after them.
Yes.
How far can GRA go to make sure that the citizens who are supposed to pay their taxes do comply?
Mr. Jones, I have to be very honest with you. Tax laws are very strong. They are very powerful also. They give lots of powers to the Commissioner General. So, just to give you a typical example, the Commissioner General can go to up to any level to recover this. The last level is to go to the courts and, get some kind of court action, to collect debts that we have found very difficult to collect from taxpayers. But there are simple, administrative, straightforward legal measures that we can also, or administrative measures that we can use. We can close any business. We only have to follow due process. If you fail to pay the tax, we can, after we have given all the necessary notices, we can go and close. And we can take any individual, any corporate body to court to recover these monies. And the reason why these laws are very important is because it has a direct bearing on the effectiveness of a government. A government that does not have money is a government that is ineffective, is a government that is paralyzed. So if the laws are not strong for government to be able to mobilize the revenues, it means that government is working towards its ineffectiveness. And no government around the world will want to, work towards its own ineffectiveness, particularly when, citizens are trying to hold these governments to account in terms of how effective and responsive they are to the needs and aspirations of the citizens. So the laws are strong and adequate, and every now and then when we see gaps, we go back to the National Assembly through our line ministry, Minister of Finance, for the necessary amendments to be done so that those loopholes, legal loopholes, are taken care of.
We shall come back to taxes and why they should be paid, who evades tax, what are measures taken. But let me now take you to the WATAF conference, which is just next door, bringing the whole West African group together here in Banjul at the Cocoa Ocean on the 16th to the 20th. How big is this for GRA?
It's a big event, not only for GRA but for the country. All these West African countries have received their invitations, and they are all going to converge here. And the Ministry of Finance is taking a very important role, pivotal role of course, in terms of making sure that we have a successful hosting of this sub-regional, conference. And let me remind you that this is the second time we are organizing this as a country. And we want to make sure that we do it even better this time, because we have got the experience organizing this kind of event in the past. And like I've said, everything is in place in terms of organization to make sure that, everything goes well, to allow, this convergence to be a very productive convergence of tax experts, and other, players, in the economy, like the private sector, parliamentarians. We have made sure that, we have invited, all those who matter in terms of decision at the policy level, business level, tax administration level, so that we all sit together in one space and then discuss. And then, there is also this team that is also developed, and because apart from the council, there is also a policy dialogue component in this. And then the policy dialogue component is like, the team is like setting agenda for effective revenue mobilization in West Africa. So that is a very strong team. It's like we want to have a shared responsibility in setting the agenda for taxation in West Africa, so that there is also policy coherence in West Africa, so that our administrative practices are also mirroring the best practice in taxation. But this will not be a practice for one country, but we want to work the journey together, so that we all develop our systems together, so that this work on sub-regional integration and all these things, the taxation will also be an important component of this. So we hope to see a lot coming out of this by way of outcomes that will influence the national policies, and also at the sub-regional level they would find better ways of supervising what these countries are doing. Another element maybe would be the exchange of experiences. People of different backgrounds will come, and then they will all bring their experiences on the table, and I think every country will have a takeaway from this in terms of what you can take back home.
Let's go to the conference proper. It will entail the General Assembly as well as Council as well.
And then policy dialogue.
Policy dialogue.
Yes.
Now take us step by step.
Yes.
When we talk about the General Assembly, what are we talking here? Everybody that forms as part of it? How many delegates do from the
normally we will expect, 15 countries,
okay,
to come here, because this WATAF is just mirroring membership of ECOWAS. It's just like, for ECOWAS, we are also, those of us in the tax community within West Africa, we also want to develop, a tax system that at the end of the day would be an ECOWAS, a community tax system. And that is why we are engaging ECOWAS in most of the things that we are doing. And I want to put it on record that ECOWAS has been very responsive in terms of assistance to support our efforts. They have provided a lot of trainings in the past to boost the capacities of our tax administrations. And all that is geared towards, the work, enhancing the work that they are doing in the area of sub-regional integration, and also improving the performance of the economies within West Africa. So it's going to be a very important event, and we hope that at the end of the day, and also looking at all we have even invited parliamentarians, how to call it, Mustafa Cissé Lo of Senegal, who is also the president of the ECOWAS parliament, is also coming here, and he would also give a talk on one of the topics. And why we are also bringing lawmakers is all our laws, they end up at the National Assembly.
Absolutely.
Yes, so
absolutely,
they have a role to play.
Absolutely.
So
let me take you now to the council.
Yes.
Who is in the council?
Council, is by election. The general body is the General Assembly. And then council is like the policy arm of, the assembly. And that's where, a lot of the important matters regarding the
numbering. How many members?
About, I think, 6, 7.
6, 7.
6, 7,
okay.
Are there. And like I have said, this is by election, and it takes turns. Gambia sits on the council now. And council would look at, sit on critical matters like the budget, like the strategic plans, issues of recruitment, procurement. But at the end of the day, those resolutions and decisions would have to go to the general body for them to approve by voting. That is at the level of the General Assembly. Every member has a vote, and in that manner, we are able to approve programs, projects, and whatever actions that need to be taken in any particular year. And then council will go and work with the secretariat to get this implemented, and then be providing feedback by way of report to the General Assembly. Yes.
Do you have any member from the Lusophone countries that is in council?
Right now, I know Cape Verde, if my memory serves me right.
Okay.
But the intention definitely is to have an all-inclusive, kind of organization. Because if you look at the linguistic, composition within West Africa, the Anglophone, the Lusophone, the Francophone, are very important. So therefore, if you have to have an all-inclusive kind of, body, it's important that, particularly at the level of council, we take this kind of, things into consideration, so that, there is effective and full participation that does not marginalize, any group or subgroup, within the sub-region.
You're inviting very prominent people, especially here from the Gambia, like you said, National Assembly members. I'm sure the finance will be there, security chiefs will be there, and who else are you inviting?
The private sector is coming, because they are very important.
Very key.
We are also inviting professional bodies, and like I have said, the parliamentarians are coming. Academia will also come, so that they can share their perspectives. Some of them may have done some research papers, So that is why among the things that we are going to discuss is these sustainable development goals. All these countries have a commitment to implement them. Where is the money? It has to come mainly from the tax systems. We are also going to discuss the EU Agenda 2063 that has also a component that deals with domestic revenue mobilization. So these important regional and international, commitments that countries have taken at the global level, to ensure that there is global peace and stability and also prosperity. But at country level, we need money to do this. And not all this money can come from the, external support, because we all talk about the donor fatigue. It's not, something that we just talk about. It's the reality.
It is.
So we need to, quickly prepare ourselves and make sure that the institutions that are responsible for mobilizing the revenues are strong and credible enough and are accountable, so that they are able to, work in a manner that we can enhance domestic revenue mobilization in our countries. And I am of the view that the outcome of, all these things that are happening at Council, at General Assembly, and the policy dialogue will definitely, lead to maybe a new toolkit in terms of policy prescriptions, in terms of administrative prescriptions that we can implement to enhance or further the reforms that most of us have undertaken. Because all the countries have undertaken reforms at different levels. But the other important thing is our economies. Few, of course, are endowed with natural resources like Nigeria. But if you take the natural resources sector out, we are more or less the same. We are all depending on construction, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, services. So we are talking about the same things. So it means that we need to have some kind of convergence in policy and practices. And this should be the best available, policies and practices, so that we are able to mobilize the revenues very well.
You're watching Talk to Malik Jones, and my guest is the Deputy Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority, Alhaji Essa Jallow. Issa, if I may come back, to tax, I mean, that is the crux, that's the main, shall I say, bread basket for government to be able to implement its programs, its basic amenities for people to have a healthy and good life. Now, you must have big taxpayers, the ones that actually come up with a big chunk of money. Now, in the Gambia, what's the scenario like?
Well, the scenario is like this. We still have a long way in terms of broadening the base, so that everybody that is supposed to be in is in. And the more complex we move away from the big kind of, corporate bodies, moving into the informal sector, the more difficult it is to collect money. Because for the big corporations, they are so visible. Banks, insurance, telecoms, they are so visible in terms of their activities in the economy.
You can see them from a distance.
You can see them, and you can see everything they are doing, because most of what they are doing, the records are all there. But the farther you move away from them, the more you have a lot of avoidance and evasion. And all these are supposed to be in the net, but it's a daily struggle to make sure that they are in the net, so that they contribute their fair share. So that is why we are still depending a lot, particularly on the service sector, to drive these revenues, particularly telecoms, the financial sector, tourism. They continue to be big players in our collections, and also the international trade in terms of the imports, the revenues we generate from that.
And export as well.
No, export, this is not a key exporting economy. And what we export is of very little value.
So
and exports, in most cases, for most of them are zero rated, but that is an international norm. The reason why you zero rate your exports is because these are your produce, and you want to sell them outside, and you want to create a market for them. If you load them with taxes, they find it very difficult to compete.
Yes.
They will be very expensive by the time they compete with those goods that are in the markets where you are trying to introduce them. So that is why many countries don't target exports for for taxes. That's why even the VAT exports are taxed at 0%, because you don't want to load them with all these taxes, because you want to also create market for your local manufacturing companies, so that jobs can be created here, and then that way the economy can grow. So that is why we are depending mainly on the imports. So these imports, and like I have said, the tourism, the banks, financial sector, insurance, telecoms, they are the key drivers. But our hope and our strategy is to bring these hard to tax sectors into the base so that the country can have the fiscal space.
Let me come in here before you.
Yeah.
Who are they hard to get?
These are the sole proprietors.
Okay.
One man businesses.
Yes. Okay.
They can mushroom anywhere. Today they can be here and tomorrow you park and go elsewhere.
You go.
But you know, for a bank, it's not that easy. For a telecom, it's not that easy. It's huge investment, capital investment. But these ones, you know, a good number of them, you know, they are in the net, and some, and you know, biggest challenge we have in West Africa is cash-based economies. Alhaji Malik is all money changing hands. No records are kept anywhere. You the taxman, you come. You are at the mercy of the person that is in business. He cannot show you any records. But if you go to the developed economies, all these things are there. You cannot cheat. Because if you are cheating everything, the evidence is blatantly, you know, available. So you don't even attempt to do it. But here is money changing hands, and once money changes hands, the records are not there. So there is no, you know, track record that you can follow. So this is a problem. So that is why a lot of our countries are trying to digitalize as much as possible. These ATMs and all these things are quite good. Introducing, you know, technology in the tax administrations, introducing receipting systems at the businesses, encouraging the populations to ask for receipts, so that would be a way of, you know, encouraging this culture of records being there.
That makes me to revisit the VAT,
yes.
Value added tax.
Yes.
How has it panned out? What is on the ground now? Are people complying?
My brother, Mr. Jones, I want to tell you that is a
nightmare.
It's mixed. I can present a picture that is mixed. In terms of the revenues of the country, it's one of the biggest innovative reforms we have done. Today the VAT is contributing nothing less than $1 billion, you know, annually. Good. You know, in the revenues of the state. So, and you compare that with the sales tax that was there. Even in the first year of implementation of the VAT, the revenues compared to sales tax jump annually by more than 18% or thereabout. So the reforms are in the right direction. But VAT comes with challenges, and the challenges are record keeping. And also those who collect this money, including, of course, state agencies who collect the money, that when you collect, you remit in a timely manner, and you remit everything that you have collected from your customers. These are some of the challenges. You know, so, but the Revenue Authority is doing everything possible in terms of automation and those kind of things to catch up, to fill these gaps, so that these loopholes that are there, where revenues can leak, we are able to plug all those loopholes and make sure that, but the revenue, the VAT has the potential to put a lot of revenue in government coffers. Why? It is a consumption tax. And you know that we are consuming money. You get out of the street, you see people are spending. And those, a good part of that spending you are seeing in these shops is all that spending has a VAT component. You go, you buy your mobile like this one I'm putting here. VAT is collected from me, from you, the phone that you're holding. So you imagine on a daily basis how many transactions are done in all these shops you see around, from building materials, electrical materials, phones, TVs, you know, all these things. So which means that we are collecting a lot, but there is still a lot more that we have to do to really catch up with some of these guys who are trying to cheat the system.
That takes me to retail shops like the Fullerman shop, Corner Street Fullerman.
I don't like the example you give. The Fullerman is sitting here
out there. He's selling his retail goods, a bag of rice, flour, oil. He's got a mixed bag of almost everything. How do these people? How are they taxed?
Yeah, you see, that's why I told you. You know, there are two components in taxation. There is what we call the policy and administration. Policy will have the law and all those, who to tax, at what rate to tax those kind of things. And the administration will come with like GRA processes and procedures to make sure that that law is put into practice by way of collection. That is why when you go to GRA, they can tell you fill out this form, go and submit your return, or they can you can be told that how to call it, this is how these are the steps that you have to take in terms of complying. So all those are processes and procedures. So, and all these are documented. So for every business, from the sole proprietorship right down to the big corporations, to you that is in employment, all of them, there are ways that we collect the money. For some, for example, if it is the business, you the individual or the company will account for your business.
Yeah, but you're still
account for your taxes.
I'm still not seeing the Mauritanian and the Fulaman in the mix.
Yes.
Those people, how do they pay tax?
No, what they do, because because the business
because I hardly see Koto at the corner.
No, because the way this thing happen is during the course of the year we have this quarterly payment of income tax. So every quarter they would come and pay based on the proceeds of the business. So, and then also the applicable rates. But for some of them now, because we have become so innovative in how we collect, we are using a lot of these banks in our collection. And a good number of these taxpayers now, they are bank accounts. So we would prefer that they use our systems in the banks, give advice to their banks, and their banks will pay directly to us. And then we would not even have to have any interaction with them. And they collect their receipts at the level of the banks. So we are trying to encourage that as much as possible, so that there is little contact between GRA officials and the taxpayers, because they can just go to the banks and utilize our systems and pay. And for us, with the click of a button, if Mr. Jones pays, we'll be able, I'll sit in my office and say, Malik Jones has paid his quarterly tax. So I don't even need to see Malik Jones. He has done that without, having any physical contact with any GRA official. So that's what they are supposed to do. And then at the end of the year, there are forms to fill. We call them annual returns. There they would put and declare everything that they have to pay. And then, they would come and pay those annual, income tax liabilities. But, Malik, I will say with a big but, the challenges that we have in the Gambia and in the whole of, West Africa is the fact that you have a large informal sector where the records are a problem, and where the attitude of, evasion and avoidance is blatant, widespread, and that is why we all have a long way to go in terms of developing this civic, duty and responsibility to know that it is godly, to surrender tax money to the state, because when the state is failing, you turn to the state and say that it should have done this, so where you also have to do your part, particularly when it has to do with laws that are there mandating it. I think as a good citizen you should respect it. And for me, the best citizen or the best resident, because some of these investors, not necessarily that they are citizens of this country, is their monies which have found their way into our economy, and they have created, those investments here. So I just want to encourage every taxpayer to support the state by making sure that the state is strong enough financially to take up its responsibilities.
All right, let's go back to the WATAF conference and its theme, which is strengthening effective domestic revenue mobilization. You'll be hearing from key speakers on the theme.
Yes.
And I'm sure Gambia will also give its own experience.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
what are we expecting? Who is going to come in from the outside to give us lectures on this?
A lot. We are expecting ministers to be here to chair, panel discussions. Panelists will also be drawn from academia, because it will be structured in the form of a panel discussion where experts will be given a topic that has a direct bearing on domestic revenue mobilization. They will discuss it, and then there will be plenary when now the general, when all those who are here, to participate in the conference can have the chance to make contributions, ask questions, so that every topic will be discussed exhaustively, and then points, action points or recommendations will come out of that. And at the end of the conference, in the joint communique, a summary of all these, key points will come out, so that every country will have at least something, that you take back home as this is what the outcome of the Banjul conference is. So different topics will be chosen. Some of them even our finance minister is going to chair. So that is why we are giving it a lot of prominence, so that, in the Gambia, the finance minister is going to play a very important role. Not only is he just coming to give, an opening kind of statement, but he will also be a participant in terms of chairing sessions. For us, we are very encouraged by that, because we think that one of the most important policies of a finance ministry is, fiscal policy. And the fiscal policy has a very important revenue component. So the fact that the Minister of Finance is taking a lead role in this, we have really, we saw a lot of appreciation out of that, and we hope that, whatever comes, we don't need to struggle for them to have the buy-in into what we are trying to implement, because they are already part of the process. And then whatever recommendations that come, particularly what we require the support of government will quickly muster the political will to provide that support.
Knowing your Commissioner General, I mean, he wants Gambia to stick out there, and I'm sure he's very, very well prepared for this conference. What will he like to export to conference delegates coming here?
I think particularly for him, he'll be very glad to host this, in the sense that in the past couple of months, we have undertaken a lot of reforms. Some of them are beginning to take root, and you want to come and showcase that this is what we are doing in the area of domestic revenue mobilization. And we think it's something that we can export to the other member states to also, make a contribution towards their own, national, domestic revenue mobilization reforms. For example, we have just completed a TADAT. TADAT is a tax administration diagnosis assessment tool. It is a tool developed by the IMF, and it will usually they will come and then do a comprehensive diagnosis of your tax system and look at the areas of strengths and weaknesses, and then come up with an action plan to address that. So we have gone through that diagnosis, and then we have been able to come up with all the weaknesses in the tax system, and then we have developed a plan, and this plan is getting the support of also, the IMF, and other, international bodies, the UNDP, the European Union. They are all coming to rally behind this, action plan to help the Gambian tax system develop. We have started the implementation of this. I'm sure the Commissioner General will be very happy to come and show them where we are with the implementation of these reforms, and how are they, taking root as far as, bringing about the necessary improvements in the system is concerned. So I think for him, this is a very important event, and I am looking forward to seeing him definitely coming out in a very strong and persuasive manner, to show his colleagues that we in the Gambia are also serious about this domestic revenue mobilization.
And of course, the Gambian hospitality will be there. I'm sure before these people, some of them might be coming into the Gambia for the first time, and we would like to showcase the Gambia Teranga to them. Do you have any idea? I know there'll be a gala dinner for them, and I'm sure they'll have a taste of Gambian, Gambia real life.
No, definitely, you are absolutely right. We are definitely, our organizing committee has been working tirelessly to make sure that everything goes right. From the meeting proper to the kind of social events that we are going to organize for them, so that they will have a good taste of what the Gambian hospitality is like. So, and my Commissioner General, things like this, he would definitely want to make sure that everybody is happy, and then we put every facility at the disposal of our guests, so that this event will be a memorable one. So, and we are all together in this, in terms of helping each other at the organizational level. definitely I'm sure by the time at the end of the conference, I'm sure the delegates will have a lot to remember about, you know, the Gambia, you know, this conference that we are hosting. It will leave, you know, a lot of nice memories, you know, in their minds for a very long time.
Essa, just before I let you go, I mean, any last word, one, to non-tax compliant sole proprietors,
Yes,
and two people who will be coming to the WATAF conference starting Monday.
First of all, I want to say that this is a pride for the country. Since we are bringing all these delegates from different countries to the Gambia, I think we should all take pride in this. And, you know, we are encouraging all those that we have extended invitations to attend, and to attend on time. And those that we expect to contribute, let them come fully prepared to make some meaningful contributions, you know, in all the, you know, events that we are going to organize. And I just want to say that, you know, to the country, they should take, you know, how to call it, the tax system, you know, as their own, because this is one of the most important institutions. If it fails, it's like, you know, it will have a direct effect on the lives of, you know, the people, in terms of all these things that we are trying to address, improving our education, our healthcare, our roads, you know, all these things, they come with a strong GRA that is able to, you know, mobilize the revenue. So I want to encourage taxpayers to be compliant. Many at times, you know, they have complained that tax rates, the burden is very high, people are paying too much of tax. One way to reduce that burden is for everybody to pay tax. The revenue base can be increased and enhanced, and government can bring this rate down drastically, so that we all carry a lighter burden of tax, and we are all able to pay without being hurt, you know, by the heaviness of the burden of the tax. So that's what I want to leave, you know, with the general public.
Essa, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on Talk to Malik Jones. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure, Malik, you know, also being here. I'm very happy that, you know, this program went so well. Thank you.
Well, that was Essa, Alhaji Essa Jallow.
Thank you.
Deputy Commissioner General, Gambia Revenue Authority. We have just said that the GRA will be hosting WATAF conference on the 16th of this month to the 20th. From me, Malik Jones, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week with another guest who'll be talking to me. From me, Malik Jones, bye-bye from Talk to Malik Jones.
Because of football, come gay pressure, no, even pressure, population. Okay, come so I talk when I call it tomorrow win, when I do most win game. Yeah, I say put down most win game, but that football, so people, but don't you know, your obligation is to win. Football, either you win or you draw.